which I'm not so sure whether the people want another 20-year mayor, but once again, that's a question mark. I think Danny's going to be right up there, and the real question is what kind of numbers does he come out of West Roxbury High Park? That's his base.
How do you think he's comported himself on issues outside of public safety, i.e. education, economy, BRA, so on and so forth? Do you think
I think he's done fine.
I agree. Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he did very well in the one televised debate that I saw.
He's a grown-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's an adult,
And he's also a county-wide official too, which really does say a lot.
And he's been on the big stage for a lot of high-profile situations in Massachusetts and involving the state. And I think he's very measured and sober, and he's a good candidate.
Reassuring.
Yeah, exactly.
Did he bounce back well on the casino situation where he said that, and he stood by it and is still standing by it, that the entire city should vote on the casino versus just the East Boston folks? You think he's conducted himself well?
Yeah, it cost him an endorsement in East Boston, but if that's the way he feels, that's what he should say.
Right.
And I respect anybody for standing up for what they believe in.
Aside from a Barrows, who's been the sleeper guy or gal that not many people thought about or knew about that's just popped out there and has made a name for themselves?
Consalvo, I think, would be, if someone breaks into the final.
There's a surprise.
That's a surprise. It's Rob Consalvo.
He's been underestimated his whole life. And let me tell you, he's identified his voters. He will get very big numbers in Hyde Park and Rosie. He'll do well in the North End and in East Boston. And he will do well in Mattapan. His council district's about 60% non-white.
That's right.
And there's a lot of Haitian folks.
That's right.
And folks from the islands who are homeowners.
Yep.
And they are very loyal to Consalvo.
I'm told when he ran citywide, he got 30,000 votes or close to it. His first race.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, he lost, but he got a lot of votes.
He's very likable. He's a wonk. He reminds me of Larry. He reads all these
Governing magazines. Yeah, exactly. Even I don't read governing magazines.
I've had some clients who've had issues, with Robbie, and he comes prepared. He understands the issue. It's not something that's just, comes off the top of his head. It's something that he's actually studied. A perfect example is that Shot Spotter, which
Absolutely.
which is the police department use, and it's very effective. And Rob picked it up on some magazine, thought about it, and pitched it to the city hall, and they picked it up, and it's been very successful.
Right. What do you think about a Walzak who has actually run big things? When you talk about the Codman, the Health Center, the Codman Academy, and he's done a couple of other big things. He was at Kearney for a minute. What do you think? Did he make a name for himself out there?
I think he did. I mean, Bill's a contemporary of mine. It's not that like John Barrows or Robbie that he's 40-something. I think that his position on the casino will get him some votes from people in the downtown wards, and I'll look at a couple of precincts Tuesday night and figure out how he's done in Dorchester. He may get more votes than people think, but he started from negative.
Right.
I mean, it's very, very tough to have never run for anything before. You have to call up OCPF and say, how do I open an account?
Right, exactly.
Right. He's a very bright guy, and he's debated the issues very well. He just came from, with no money and no name recognition. But, he identified an issue that really there hasn't been much discussion about casinos and the effect of casinos. Interestingly, there was a fire last night near the airport. And it shut down the airport for a while, and the firefighting equipment came not only from East Boston, but from the downtown area. So the notion that it's just solely an East Boston issue, I think, is not accurate. I think the casino, if it's eventually selected and goes to East Boston, will affect the entire city. And I think the fact that Walzak's opposed is one thing, but I think the entire city should have a say on how we spend our police and fire money, and so I think it's a citywide issue. I don't think it's an East Boston issue.
So let me ask each one of you a trick question. Now, we don't know who's going to be the next mayor, but okay, somebody becomes the mayor.
Ask Larry first.
Who should get hired? Which one of the other candidates should get hired by the new mayor? Who would make the most impact? Who do you think?
Well, two people, Dan Conley and Marty Walsh, have someplace to go.
Right.
Okay? John Conley has a law practice. Okay? There are a couple of people who may not have a place to go.
Right.
And If I had one person to hire, I'd hire John Barrows.
To do what?
BRA, DND, you name it. I think he can do it. I would, maybe Mike Ross is the new corporation counsel, maybe Rob Consalvo. Rob Consalvo might be a great administrative services guy because he understands the minutiae.
Maybe we have a need for a deputy mayor. Kevin had
Deputy mayor, vice mayors,
but he had good people around him.
Yeah.
And one thing, the Kevin White administration, if you look back, some very talented
Well, a lot of
folks.
the Kevin White people are running this city now. I mean, in certain respect,
of course they are.
I mean, they're out there doing some great
You know,
things.
if
But if
you-
you had to pick one name, who would you think should get snatched up by the new mayor?
I'd agree with Larry. John Barrows, I think, is he's really done well, and I think he represents a lot of what the future of Boston going forward.
Okay, so now here's the money shot, guys. Who's in the final? Let's start with you, Larry. What do
I
you
don't
think?
know. And I think about these things more than most. I think it's a short list, but I think there's still 5 people on my list who could be in that final.
Who's the 5? Who do you think can get in there?
think the
Oh, look at that.
I think 5 people
Could
be
still
in the
get a
final.
shot.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I'm going to answer your question. Conley Walsh, with the folks that are very close, Consalvo and Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I say Conley Walsh. I'm friendly with all of them, but it's all about ground game. And John Conley and Marty Walsh have, I think, by far the most effective get out the vote on Tuesday. I think Dan Conley's hung right in there. I think he's the first and
Well, he
second
showed up
choice.
well in a
over-
recent poll.
Oh no,
you
I
know,
think
because at a point you thought he may have been losing traction, so I was actually surprised
no,
to read that he's right in there.
He
He's
stayed
in
right
there.
in.
Yeah.
And what I found interesting in the Herald poll was that the statement that fewer than 19%. It seems like they're saying that everybody's made up their mind. I don't think so.
Not
I think
everybody I know.
I think a lot of people
No,
are still fluid.
Absolutely.
And I think Tuesday,
So
between
is this
now
a
and
game time
Tuesday.
decision when you're actually standing there getting ready to mark the
I
ballot?
think for a lot of people it is. It is. Yeah, they like, they've all listened to all the candidates and they like certain things. And I for one, I mean, I'm friendly with all of them. I'll say right now, I'm not sure who I'm going to vote for.
Yeah.
And I like them all.
Yeah. So both former city councilors, talk to me about the makeup of the new city council. Now you got, I think, 4 or 5 folks that will not
4
be
new
there anymore,
councilors,
right?
At least 2 new at-large councilors.
Yeah.
At least 2 new district councilors, maybe more. That's a big change.
Okay.
That was the kind of a change that you dealt with in '83. We had 4 of 9 new councilors in 1971. So that makes for a very different kind of setting. One of ours had come back. So we had 3 brand new ones. And I think that the dynamics change. I think you may see a Tito Jackson, Matt O'Malley alliance that may in fact be putting the pieces together to be the power players going forward. That's just gut instinct. I have no specific information. But the one thing none of us know as we sit here is what impact the final election will have on who gets elected to the council. And you can call it one of 2 ways. You can say the candidates for mayor will get their people out to vote, therefore the people on the council will be like them, or that the people in their infinite wisdom will say, gee golly whiz, we got 2 Irish guys running for mayor, let's balance things in the council. You can play it either way. So I mean, you have a number of very interesting people running for the council. Ramon Soto is Hispanic. Jeff Ross is bilingual and gay. Michelle Wu, Asian woman, Harvard Law School graduate. Jack Kelly is a recovering
kid,
heroin
too.
addict,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
great guy.
yeah.
You have a bunch of other, Catherine O'Neill. You have a whole bunch of people who paid some dues,
Right.
and they're all going to be in the mix.
And 2 strong incumbents. I
Yeah.
don't think you can.
And Mike Flaherty. Don't
And
forget
Mike Flaherty, who
we
was.
treat as an incumbent, but he's not right
No,
now.
he was a top vote getter
Yeah.
and ran for mayor, and Steve Murphy and Diana Presley. So I think it's really taken a subtext in terms of plot, but it's a very interesting race.
Well, let me ask you this now. So, in times of old, they would say that the mayor was really a strong mayor's city. So the city council was basically a rubber-stamped group of folks. Does that change now with a new mayor and 4 or 5 new city councilors, 6 whatever city councilors? Do we get a whole different dynamic now with how things are going to be decided and moved forward?
Well, I think, yes, I would say yes. And I'd like to, revert to 1983. The whole idea of district city councilors was to, they would encourage more races and more activity, and it's had just the reverse. I mean, Tom Menino has co-opted the city council to the point where, when there were 9 elected at large, I mean, I thought there was a lot more activity. There was a lot more discussion. There were a lot more issues.
People knew who we were.
Right.
People knew who we were.
Now
People
it's
don't know
different.
who a lot of the councils are,
they
and that's very unfortunate.
Right.
And it translates into this casino dialogue about whether it should be a citywide race or a citywide vote or a neighborhood East Boston only vote. If this were a government of a mayor plus 9 at-large city councilors, you would have a citywide vote. There'd be no.
You're absolutely correct.
Let's leave it to East Boston. You'd have 9 people who were elected at large discussing at-large issues and citywide issues.
Right. Well, look, guys, we're going to go to a quick break. On the other side, when we come back, I want to talk to you about the upcoming gubernatorial races. But I also want to talk to you about this spate of special elections. I mean, it seems like every time you turn around, there's a special election going on, and that really, it keeps you on one side energized, but on the other side, are we suffering from political fatigue with all of these races going on? So, hey, folks, look, stay tuned, sit there, or grab a cold beverage, but come on back. These guys have got some fantastic things to say, and so we'll see you on the other side.